America's turning 250, and it's time to rock out with our forefathers. American-made, battle-ready style for true patriots. Whether you're marching in the parade, grilling in the backyard, or raising a toast to liberty, do it in the gear that screams freedom. Celebrate 250 years of USA in style. Wear your American pride loud. Trendjackers.etsy.com. Grab yours before the fireworks.
From Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown, this is Sportsbash, presented by TicketBash.com. TicketBash.com, where memories are made affordable and where you'll never pay a service fee. TicketBash.com is the best site to go to for NFL playoff tickets and Super Bowl packages. The Super Bowl coming up really soon, in a few weeks. You can use code HOLIDAY15 for a limited time for 15% off your order. Sports Bash is also presented by the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund, a group of like-minded individuals trying to raise awareness to our future generations of all possibilities of success other than just college. For more information, visit www.lookwhomadeit.org. Well, hi again, everyone. I'm Peter Schwartz. Welcome to Sports Bash on this Thursday, January 22nd. Great show coming up for you, 516-465-3990. We're going to be joined by NFL Media and NFL Network senior national columnist Judy Battista. We'll talk about the upcoming conference championship games on Sunday. We'll also talk about what's going on with the locals, with John Harbaugh taking over as the head coach of the Giants and all the mishigas going on with the New York Jets. We'll talk to her about that. And it's been a busy couple of days for our local baseball teams. The Mets have been really busy. The Yankees have been a little busy bringing back a key figure in Cody Bellinger. So we'll talk about the Yankees and the Mets with Emmanuel Barbari, one of the voices of the Yankees on WFAN, and you can also see him on SNY's Baseball Night in New York. So we'll talk predominantly about the Yankees with him because he's a Yankee broadcaster, but because he's also on SNY, we'll throw a couple of Met questions at Emmanuel, who, and both, by the way, first time I think that we've had a double guest show where both guests have been on the show before. I was thinking about that today. Both Emmanuel and Judy have been prior guests. First time we've had them both on, two guests on the same show. And I don't really know what this means. I'm just bringing it up just to babble. I don't really know if that's a significant thing. People are wondering, like, what the hell is he trying to prove? I'm saying it's like, we have two guests on the show, and they're both multiple, return guests. Again, I don't know why I brought that up, but whatever. We'll also have what's hot at ticketbash.com, the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day, and we'll check out the Coach's Collectibles item of the week. We'll also tell you about a big show coming up this Tuesday, and we got a great show coming up Tuesday, and hopefully by that point on Tuesday, we will have dug ourselves out of this storm of the century that is coming to the Northeast, especially here on Long Island, on Sunday. At least that's what's forecasted. And again, it's one of those things where I took meteorology in college. I don't know if people know this about me, but one of the classes I took at Buffalo State was meteorology. And the reason why I took meteorology at Buffalo State, one, because I thought it was an easy 3 credits to finish off and make sure I got out on time. But at the end of that class was you had to do a TV broadcast of a weather report, which I thought was great because it went in line with my major of broadcasting. So I'm like, I'll take meteorology and I get to do a weathercast. And then throughout the course of that class, I realized what BS meteorology is. Because, yes, I guess you can look at the radars, you can look at all the Dopplers, whatever the hell it is, and you can figure out approximately like what it's going to be hot, it's going to be cold, it's going to snow. But every time there's one of these big storms coming up, I'm always skeptical because we've been duped so many times before that, we're going to get 2 feet of snow. We got cream cheese on the ground. Like we got like nothing, a sprinkling. I think the last snowstorm we got too, maybe not the one before, it came on a Saturday morning, and it was one of the last Saturdays that I worked for WFAN doing updates on Saturday mornings. And when I saw the forecast, I was talking about with my wife, Cheryl. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to go in. I think I'm going to work from home that morning because I don't want to deal with a storm. And what are they going to do? There's no more updates after that weekend anyway, right? So I said, and when you make that commitment to doing the updates from home, I had to say, okay, I'm going to sleep at this time so I can wake up a little bit later and then do the updates from home. And then I woke up and I went to the kitchen and looked out the window and I'm like, where's all the snow that they said was going to come? I could have gone in. I could have said goodbye to people that I have not now seen for a few weeks because that was the end of updates that weekend. So my point being is that meteorologists need to get their act together and call these things the way they're supposed to. And here's the other thing too that comes up in the snowstorms. And we talked about this when Amy McGorry was in, when Andrea Grimes was in. They do this all the time, the reporters, and we've talked about it. It's a big snowstorm, and they send, whether it's the Amy's of the world, Andrea's, whoever it is, and they're standing out on a street corner. We're here on Broadway and in 107, and you can see the snow is coming down really, really hard. You should not be outside right now. You should be. Well, you're standing outside. You're telling us we could look out our window and see that it's snowing outside. And then you've got, what's that car on News 12? Thunderbolt, right? Yes. Thunderbolt. And we see the News 12 people are driving around in Thunderbolt. We're here in Thunderbolt 12, and as you can see, we're here on the LIE. The driving is treacherous. But they're in the car driving. Like, if it's like, can't you send a drone out there in the snow now? Like, why do you have to be in the car if you're telling everybody that it's treacherous? Like, don't go out and drive in the car. We know it's snowing outside. Big lines at Home Depot for a rock. Yeah, we know that. It happens every single time. But anyway, that's what's going on. And hopefully we don't get as much snow as we're told we're going to get on Sunday. But anyway, if there's a day that you're going to be snowbound, Sunday is the day to do it because you got the football games are on. There's stuff to watch on TV. I've got some things to take care of around the house. There's a room in the house that needs to get straightened up a little bit. So you know what? If you don't have to go outside, get some stuff done inside the house. But for me, I'm going to do it either before 3 or after 10 because right. I want to watch the football games on. And make sure if you're ordering food for the football games, especially if you order from the Embassy Diner, our friends, make sure you get that order in early. Go pick it up before the snow starts coming down. You can always warm it back up later in the night, but go pick it up early. It's time for the Sports Bash Flash. It's presented by the Marty Lyons Foundation, granting wishes for 43 years. For more information, visit martylyonsfoundation.org. The Knicks beat the Nets last night at the Garden. How about this score? 120-66. The 54-point margin of victory was the largest in Knicks history. That was an ass-kicking last night at Madison Square Garden. The Islanders lost to the Kraken 4-1 in Seattle. Anthony Duclair with the Islanders goal, and the Islanders finish off that 7-game road trip 3-1. I went into it thinking, people asked me, what do you think the Islanders need to get points-wise from this 7-game road trip? And I thought 7 or 8 points would be okay, considering how the Islanders are playing. And a 7-game road trip is tough. But I have to tell you something. In all honesty, I'm disappointed, because there were a couple of games that the Islanders let some points get away from them, and especially these last two. The two of the last three. The Calgary game was an abomination, and last night they had no business getting waxed by Vancouver. So I actually, 7 points is probably what I expected going in, but I didn't expect them to win a couple of games that they did. They actually lost points against really bad teams. So hopefully, they can rest up now that they're back home and they get back in action on Saturday when they take on the Sabres at UBS Arena. Tonight, all the local pro teams are off. Of course, yesterday the Yankees re-signed outfielder Cody Bellinger to a 5-year deal. And of course, the Mets, very, very busy in the last few days, making the trade for Luis Robert Jr. and also getting Freddie Peralta from the Brewers yesterday. And yesterday, also, the Mets introduced Bo Bichette at a Citi Field press conference. So the Mets have been really, really busy. The Yankees, not as busy, but at least they got Cody Bellinger back. I thought this when I heard about the Luis Robert trade on Tuesday night. As soon as I saw that news, I'm like, the Yankees are getting Bellinger back, because the last two teams involved was, in going for Bellinger with the Mets and the Yankees. And once you saw the Mets going for Robert, they're out of the Bellinger. The Yankees are going to get him signed, and they did. But as far as the Mets go, and my Schwartz on Sports feature today dealt with how well I thought the Mets did the last couple of days. The only real problem I would have, and we'll talk to Emmanuel Barbari about this later on when we talk about the Mets with him and also the Yankees. The only real concern you would have about the Mets right now is that they traded for a pitcher in Freddie Peralta who's going to be a free agent, so it's a rental right now, and you gave up a couple of really good prospects, and I talked about it off the air, and I'll bring Tony Walker in, my producer, who's the host of the Knock 'em Dead comedy show, weekdays from 11 to 12:30 here at Governors. You're a little concerned about the Peralta trade, giving up those prospects, right? So they gave up Acuna in that deal, and and Brandon Sproat in that trade too. So it's risky, but if they get him signed, it's a good trade.
They also gave up Sprout. Sprout?
Did I say Brandon Sprout? Sproat.
Did you say it?
I did.
Sorry, I thought I missed it.
I thought I did. Wake up.
Sorry. I'm a Met fan.
I know it's not your show, but you still have to be attentive to what's going on here.
I am concerned about losing young talent. Yeah. But
he's a frontline starting pitcher.
That's it, right.
And here's the thing, too, is, and this is the same when the Yankees traded for Soto. You're trading for a rental. I mean, you make the most out of it for the year, and the Yankees got to the World Series with Juan Soto and went as far as they wanted to go to try and bring him back. And now you wonder, is this a David Stearns trade where he's now going to – it's his guy because he came from the Brewers. So now is he going to be the one who can get him signed to a long-term deal? Look, if they have the framework in place for the long-term deal and it just hasn't been announced yet, then all power to David Stearns for doing it. Some of these big hockey trades, the the deals are done. Like I remember when the Islanders traded for Bo Horvat, the deal was basically done to get him signed to an extension, and they announced it the day after they announced the trade. So it was the Islanders probably wouldn't have made that trade if they didn't think they had a really good chance of getting him re-signed. In this case, you wonder, does David Stearns still have that great relationship with the Brewers that they made the trade based on, we got pretty close in negotiations on a long-term deal, but we'll see what happens. But I think all in all, I think it was a good few days for the Mets. This team is not. It doesn't look like they're in a rebuilding thing. This is retooling. We talked about this on the show a couple of weeks ago when they lost Pete Alonso and they lost Nimmo. And sometimes a group can only go so far. I compare it to the Islanders going to the Final Four 2 years in a row, and they stuck with that group a little bit too long, because maybe there's a group of players in sports you can only go so far, and you hit a wall with those players. And if you're David Stearns, you have no loyalty to the Pete Alonsos of the world, the Jeff McNeils and the Brandon Nimmos. Like you were hired to do a job and build the Mets into a World Series team, and he's putting his stamp onto this team right now. Now, I criticize them. I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, but I thought they should have brought Pete Alonso back. He's a fan favorite. That would be the only thing. The Diaz thing, look, closers only have so much of a shelf life. I get it. I know Met fans were pissed that they didn't bring him back. Alonso was the big one. Alonso was the guy that I thought he should have. Not that you ever want to listen to the fans when you're a GM, but you just saw how important he was to the fan base. But if you're a Met fan right now, again, aside from the concern of losing Peralta after 1 year, this is a great few days for the Mets, and I'm sure the excitement is there. And maybe they're not done yet. Look, I still think they could probably add another pitcher if they needed to, if they want to. So that to me is what they need to try to do, is continue building. And David Stearns has to have the conviction to put his stamp of approval on this team and go get the players that he wants to get. As far as the Yankees go, again, their biggest, and they said it at the start of the offseason, the biggest thing they wanted to do was to bring back Cody Bellinger, and they have done that now. So he is now in the fold, and now the Yankees can go to work. They've got too many outfielders now, because now they've got the two kids, Dominguez, who has played a little bit, obviously, and we haven't really seen his full potential, and Spencer Jones, who's the prospect. I would suspect right now that the Yankees will be shopping one of those two guys. I think they will shop either Jason Dominguez or Spencer Jones. And I think at this point, you really don't know if Spencer Jones is going to be the goods. He strikes out a lot in the minor leagues. We've seen a little taste of Jason Dominguez. I like what I've seen so far. Now, look, he's not great in the outfield, and I think he's a little bit better than he was at the start, but I think he's someone you could live with in playing left field. I really believe that. So I think the Yankees are in a good spot here. I'd like to see them. They brought Ryan Weathers in as a starting pitcher. I think they'll do well for themselves if they can get another starting pitcher when they wait for Clark Schmidt and Carlos Rodon and Garrett Cole to come back. But I think all in all, this has been a really good week for the baseball teams. As far as the football teams go, and we're going to talk about it coming up in the next segment with Judy Batista from NFL Network. But obviously a great day for the Giants the other day, bringing in John Harbaugh. As far as the Jets go, I saw something online before I came in to do the show that they reached out to two defensive coordinator candidates and were told no thank you.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Wow is right. Yeah, because it appears, and I can't believe this is the case, but it appears as if there are a lot of people who are not knocking down the doors to be a part of the New York Jets organization, which, take it for what you will. Is it a surprise or not? Probably should not come as a surprise based on all the things that we know about them. But a lot to talk about here on the show. We're going to talk football coming up next with Judy Batista from the NFL Network. Later on in the show, Emmanuel I knew I said that too fast. And I do that whenever I saw him at FAN, and I would throw to him for an update or thank him behind the glass before he became a big shot, I would say his name way too fast. Emmanuel Berbari, Yankee broadcaster on WFAN. You also see him on SNY Baseball Night in New York. He'll join us later in the show. But coming up next, we're going to talk football, Judy Batista, NFL Media, NFL Network. We'll talk to her about all things NFL going on when we come back right after this. Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention Sportsbash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage.
In 1982, the Marty Lyons Foundation began with a single heartfelt mission: to bring moments of joy and hope to critically ill children by granting wishes that make their dreams come true. Since that day, we have touched the lives of over 8,600 families, raising over $44 million to grant wishes that offer a beacon of light in their darkest times. These precious wishes cost an average of $7,100 each. And your support is crucial to our mission. Every donation, big or small, makes a difference. And with 84 cents of every dollar going directly to supporting our families, you can rest assured your support truly changes lives. The Marty Lyons Foundation operates 11 chapters in 14 states now, working tirelessly to reach as many children as we can. This dedication goes hand in hand with our commitment to transparency and accountability, earning us top ratings on Charity Navigator, Great Nonprofits, and Candid, which underscores our dedication to those we serve. The Marty Lyons Foundation grants wishes to children ages 3 to 17. And what really makes this foundation so special is our willingness to grant not only a first wish, but also consider a second wish to a child who continues to battle a life-threatening illness. We stand by these children, offering them hope and strength through the power of dreams, giving our children the courage to wish for more.
What's your purpose in life? Is your purpose in life to live in the big house and drive the nice car? No. Your purpose in this life is to make it a little bit better for those that follow and realize that we live for today to see a better tomorrow.
Visit MartyLyonsFoundation.org to learn more and get involved.
What an honor. What an exciting moment. Walk in here and they say New York's a different kind of place, and I would say it's probably true, man. This is pretty amazing right here. This is incredible. And to see those players back there, see those guys smiling and ready to go to work, that gets me fired up too. So to everybody, just thank you very much.
Welcome back to Sports Bash, everyone. I'm Peter Schwartz, 516-465-3990, the number to call. We'll get back to your phone calls later on in the show. We'll also hear from Yankee broadcaster Emmanuel Berbari a little bit later on in the program. But you just heard and saw a little video from new Giants head coach John Harbaugh from his press conference the other day. A brand new, very lucrative 5-year contract for Harbaugh to take over the New York Football Giants. So to talk about that, the Jets, and conference championship weekend, no one better to talk a little NFL football than a repeat guest here on the show. My good friend from NFL Media and NFL Network, Judy Batista. Judy, it's Peter. How are you?
Peter, it's great to talk to you. How are you?
I'm doing a lot better than the last time you were on the show. I kind of joked in a text to you about that because that was during the period of time that I was going through what my doctor called was a 100-day cough. And when you came on that day, I had the biggest coughing fit, I think, of that time period. I don't think it's anything against you, but I wanted to make sure that the next time I had you on, I was all well and all good and no coughing this time.
Well, I'm relieved that you sound so good right now.
Well, I appreciate that. We just heard a little video from the John Harbaugh press conference the other day, and I think once he became available, obviously all signs pointed towards the Giants going hard after him. They were able to reel him in. What are your thoughts on the Giants bringing in Harbaugh and what he will mean in turning that franchise around?
Yeah, it was a big win for the Giants, and they needed a win. This team has, it's been a rough decade or so for the Giants. They have cycled through a lot of coaches since Tom Coughlin left. It has not gone particularly well for any of them. And I think they needed, Chris Mara actually used the word credibility, like they needed to restore some credibility to their franchise. And they thought a proven winner, not just an up and comer, which I think is what they had tried for a few times before. They needed somebody, a demonstrable winner, somebody who could lay out a plan, not just for the football team, but for the entire organization about how to get back on track and get back to winning consistently, which is what he did in Baltimore. And he can show them how he did that and then try to duplicate it here in New York. And you're already seeing, I mean, he's already making changes, in the front office. He's expected to bring in more people on the training staff. So he has an awful lot of power now. His voice is going to carry a lot of weight in that building. And he's going to change the Giants. There's no question. And obviously the hope is that it's a big change for the better.
And part of that transformation in this franchise under Harbaugh now is that he is going to report directly to ownership. And that's not the way the Giants have done that in their history. And for the Giants to buy into what Harbaugh wanted to do and create that new chain of command really speaks volumes to the respect that the Giants are showing him and the respect that Harbaugh has around the NFL, that here's this traditional NFL franchise that has done things a certain way for a long period of time, and now he's coming in, and that was, I'm sure that was one of the contract negotiations, that he wanted to report directly to ownership, and the Giants allowed that to happen.
Yeah, and I think it also shows that the Giants recognized that they had to change, right? They have done things the same way for 101 years, and for a lot of those 101 years, it worked really, really well, including with Bill Parcells and Tom Coughlin. Those two giants both reported to general managers, but this is different. Again, it's been a rough go of it for the Giants, and they wanted to change. They needed to change their results. And John Harbaugh, I think, is one of the rare candidates who had the resume, who could go in there and say, I want to be able to report directly to John Mara. I do not want to report to a general manager. And get what he wanted, right? I mean, he was clearly, after he was fired by the Ravens, he was clearly the top coach available. Mm-hmm. And so he was the one who had the leverage, who could say, like, we're going to do it this way, or I'll go find a job with another franchise. It was clear he wanted the Giants, and the Giants wanted him. They just had to come to a meeting of the minds on how things are going to be structured there.
And one of the reasons why I think anybody would have wanted the Giant job and why that job was so attractive was Jackson Dart, rookie quarterback this past season. And obviously there's so many high expectations for him now. And there were a lot of smiles on the face of John Harbaugh throughout the day, whether it was during his press conference, even the night before when he arrived with his wife and meeting Joe Shane, through the press conference, all the interviews I saw him do with reporters one-on-one. But I think the biggest smile he had was when people were asking him about Jackson Dart. And I think that's one of the intriguing things about Harbaugh coming on board, is now you have this legitimate head coach that has won before, has won a championship, and has been able to tutor a young quarterback before. How do you look at this dynamic now between John Harbaugh and Jackson Dart?
Well, it is no surprise that Jackson Dart is very excited, right? He was posting pictures from the day John Harbaugh visited the facility for his interview, and he was in the weight room and he was taking pictures. Joe Shane told a story that day during the visit, Jackson Dart and Harbaugh started talking so much and were talking so excitedly about football that they basically had to break up their session because they had to keep going with the interview and showing John Harbaugh around. They had to stop Jackson Dart. So I think this is a great thing for both parties. I mean, certainly if you are an experienced head coach and you have your pick of jobs, which John Harbaugh certainly did, ideally you want to go someplace that has the quarterback in place, right? You do not want to go someplace where the cupboard is bare, and the cupboard is not bare at the Giants. And Jackson Dart is, number one on the list of things that make this a pretty full cupboard to build from. And I think it's great for Jackson Dart's development. Again, John Harbaugh obviously most recently worked with Lamar Jackson, but he won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. So He has worked with very different styles of quarterbacks and been successful with them both. So that's great for Jackson Dart. John Harbaugh will be able to mentor him. And the other thing that John Harbaugh does, which we don't talk to, but because of who he is and his many years in the league, he is going to be able to put together a very, very strong coaching staff. And that's really important because the offensive coordinator, the quarterback's coach, those are the people who are going to be working most hands-on with Jackson Dart.
I would imagine Todd Monken right at the top of that list to bring his offensive coordinator from Baltimore. And all indications are that's probably going to happen, right?
Well, it certainly looks that way. I mean, Todd Monken is available. He had been interviewing for head coaching jobs, but it would seem like if he's going to be an offensive coordinator and not a head coach, he would be the offensive coordinator for the Giants.
Last thing on the Harbaugh signing, and I think this is where a lot of people thought it might be a problem in bringing Harbaugh to the Giants, and that is the existing general manager, Joe Schoen. And it looked like at the press conference and even the night before, the videos the Giants put out, right now it's being portrayed, at least from the Giants' perspective, as a mutual admiration society between Joe Schoen and John Harbaugh. But as we now know, Harbaugh is going to report directly to ownership. I'm wondering about the dynamic now between those two. How much of that the other day you think might have been, I don't know, a little bit contrived, and how much is there respect between the two? Because I would imagine any disagreements, obviously Harbaugh is going to win with ownership. So to me, it's going to make for a fascinating relationship between those two guys.
There's no question. I mean, it's going to be something that we're all going to be watching. And again, because it hasn't happened before at the Giants. You've never had this structure before. John Harbaugh did go to great lengths to praise Joe Schoen and his extensive knowledge of the NFL and talk about how great their relationship already was. So everybody was going to great lengths the other day to say, this is not really that big a deal. This is just what's written down on paper. This is not that important. But you do know if push comes to shove and there is a disagreement on who the first round draft pick should be, that the breaking of the tie is going to go to John Harbaugh. He is the biggest voice now in that building. And again, he reports directly to ownership. So he can make his case directly to ownership without having to go through a middleman. So it is certainly a dynamic that's going to be interesting to watch. Having said that, Joe Schoen there's a lot of trust in Joe Schoen from ownership. I mean, ownership had him lead the search. So that tells you something about how much the Maras had confidence in Joe Schoen to get this done.
We're talking to Judy Battista, NFL Network, NFL Media senior national columnist. She's joining us here on Sports Bash to talk about the NFL. We talked about the Giants. Let's go to the other locker room at MetLife Stadium. Judy, talk me off the ledge here, my friend. Give me. It's
been so quiet on the Jets for the last few weeks.
But I mean, give me. I'm wearing green today. Kermit the Frog said it ain't easy being green. Give me and Jets Nation a reason to be excited about the offseason, to be excited about what's to come under Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn.
Well, first of all, you've got a very high draft pick, and that is a good thing. Darren Muji has proven to be a pretty good at this, at personnel acquisition. So you've got to hope that with a very high draft pick, he can get some stuff done. And you have to believe the same way you believed in Aaron Glenn's plan in the beginning. I think if we could all take a step back and go back to where we were at this time last year with the Jets, you did not think that they were going to the playoffs this year in Aaron Glenn's first year. And I think and this is not exclusive to Jets fans, but I think part of why people are so upset when you don't see these quick turnarounds is because we saw so many quick turnarounds this year, right? You saw it happen in New England and Jacksonville and Chicago, where first-year head coaches got in and boom, the team just turns around on a dime. Circumstances were different in each of those cases, right? They had the quarterback in place. That it just isn't the case at the Jets. They've got to get the quarterback right. Like nothing else we talk about matters until they get the quarterback right. And so you've got to hope that this offseason they've got 2 first-round draft picks. Question is, do they like any of the quarterbacks who are going to be available, assuming that Fernando Mendoza is not going to be available to them, which is too bad, because he would be a rock star in New York. He'll be a rock star anywhere, but man, would he be awesome in New York.
But that's Jets' luck, is they have the second pick. They didn't suck enough this year to have the first pick. Right.
I would also say it's hard to tell a team, it's hard to tell players don't win the game. It's hard. You can't do that.
Yeah, they do have the 2nd and the 16th pick, and I would imagine if they have some conviction for one of the other, quarterbacks coming out, they can always trade down from number 2, get some more picks, and maybe get somebody.
And don't forget, they've got 3 first-rounders next year too, and so that's another thing to keep an eye on: is are they looking at next year's class, which theoretically, and we go through this every year, theoretically right now, next year's class looks very strong for quarterbacks. Are they looking and saying we get a veteran placeholder right now, and and try to piece it together this year, and then in 2026 you get your franchise quarterback? Or do they like what they see this year in somebody and say, okay, we're going to get our guy now? You don't have to, people always say like, well, if you don't have a really, really high pick, it's hard to get a quarterback. I mean, that's not always the case.
Right.
Like Lamar Jackson was not the first pick, you can get quarterbacks elsewhere.
Oh, that's my point too, is that you don't have to force it this year. You do have the 3 picks next year, and you can always get another stopgap, for this year and use one of the picks next year on a quarterback. They could also maybe trade for a quarterback at some point. But yeah, I think the Jets, all joking aside, in good shape to get their quarterback of the future either this year or next year. The issue, though, I think around the Jets is the belief in Aaron Glenn, because there was so much negativity about him after that first season, arguing with the beat reporters and just showing at times that maybe he didn't look qualified to be a head coach with some of the moves that he made. But I think if you bring in a new coach, if you're going to chop it up after 1 year, you're just going to continue being in the spin cycle, going from coach to coach. And the one thing I totally agree with the way the Jets handle this is that you got to bring him back for another year. If you believed in him enough to bring him in for year 1 and dealing with what he had to deal with, you have to almost bring him back for year 2. Otherwise, I think you're just going around in circles.
Yes, I would agree with you. And one thing to say about Woody Johnson, and obviously fans have a lot of opinions about Woody Johnson's ownership, is Woody has not been a hair trigger owner with coaches. He has actually kept coaches, sometimes maybe longer than he should have, but he has been patient with owners. And I think he believes in Aaron Glenn. Certainly the way the year ended, especially after the trades, at the trade deadline, when you get rid of your 2 best defensive players and then you're getting blown out, I think that was tough on everybody in the building to really have some games where you weren't competitive. But I think he believes that Aaron Glenn has a plan, and I agree. You just can't, you can't blow a whole thing out after only 1 year. You're just starting over again and again and again. That's just not going to do it.
I'll ask you to look into your crystal ball. Is Breece Hall a Jet in 2026?
I hope so. I hope so. I don't know.
Fair enough. That's kind of how I feel about it too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because you also, if they franchise him, I mean, you know this as much as anybody, is that sometimes that franchise tag can be a detriment because it ruins the relationship between the player and the coach. So the Jets might do that and may feel the effects of it, or do they just try to negotiate a deal, and if not, just let him go? But I don't think the Jets just want to let him go for nothing.
Right. No, I don't think they do. And certainly the fact that they didn't trade him when I think many of us expected him to be traded at the trade deadline, I think tells you they want to keep him, the best case scenario. But again, you're right. I mean, putting the franchise tag on a player, especially a running back, that's a position that gets hurt. It can definitely sour the relationship. I don't know how that's going to turn out. I hope he's still a Jet.
I hope so too. My son, who has a jersey, is hoping that he sticks around too, because then my wife and I would have to go out and get a new jersey again, and you know how expensive that can be. A couple of minutes left with Judy Battista from NFL Network. It is Conference Championship Sunday. First, the AFC Championship game at 3:00 Eastern Time. The Patriots and the Broncos in Denver. And boy, this game would be so much more intriguing had Bo Nix not broken his ankle, but Jarrett Stidham is going to start a quarterback for the Broncos. And obviously, all the focus now shifts to all the Patriots are now one step away without Bo Nix playing for the Broncos. This is going to be an easy road for the Patriots to get to the Super Bowl. But this is still a Broncos team that's very, very good. They're playing at home in a really tough place for opponents to play. How do you look at this matchup, Patriots and Broncos, without Bo Nix for Denver?
Well, first of all, I felt so bad. It was such a shock the way it happened with
Yeah.
Bo Nix, right? Like, because you didn't really even realize he got hurt right at the end of the game, and then Sean Payton just walks into the press room and says he's out. Um, so it's just terrible. I feel terrible for
Yeah.
all of them. Having said that, Sean Payton is a heck of a coach, and he believes in Jarrett Stidham. So I think he will get Jarrett Stidham will be as ready as he can possibly be. Having said that, he's only making his fourth start of his career
Yeah.
in the AFC Championship game after not throwing a meaningful pass since 2023. I mean, that's really hard.
It's crazy.
That's really, really hard. And you're doing it against a good defense. You're not doing it against, a high school defense. You're doing it against a top 10 defense, a top 5 scoring defense. So it's really hard. You can't look at this and not think that the Patriots have to be the favorites, even though, as you said, Denver is a very difficult place to play. The crowd is loud. Playing at altitude is not easy. It's a tough place for opponents to win, but obviously going against a quarterback who hasn't thrown a pass in 2 years is, that it's a tall order for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, it does make for an intriguing game on Sunday. We'll see how that shakes out for both teams. Then the NFC title game, the Rams and the Seahawks in Seattle at 6:30 Eastern Time. And our old friend Sam Darnold is just 60 minutes or more away from going to the Super Bowl. That's a great story there in Seattle, as he is now kind of helped resurrect 2 teams 2 years in a row against a Rams team that has a little bit of mojo going into this game. How do you look at the NFC title game?
I mean, these 2 teams are as tightly bound as you can imagine. They played twice during the season, split this regular season series, and the margin was 3 points total. And in both games, the Rams won the first game, and in the second game, there was a missed kick, it went to overtime. The Rams were as close as you could possibly get to winning the game. They blew a big lead, as close as you could get to winning the game without actually winning the game. So does that mean the Rams are favored? No, I think Seattle right now looks like the best, most complete team of the 4 left. And that, again, Seattle, very, very difficult place for visitors to play. Really loud. It's a tough environment for the visitors. This is the game everybody wanted in the NFC because of what their 2 regular season games were like. I cannot wait to watch this game.
Absolutely. Should be a great day of football on Sunday. Judy, thank you so much for joining me here on the show. Enjoy championship weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Hopefully we can get in touch again and do this again, since I'm not coughing anymore. So I appreciate the fact that you came back on the show. And enjoy the playoffs on Sunday.
Always a pleasure to talk to you, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you. Judy Batista, NFL Network senior national columnist. I know that's a mouthful. NFL Media and NFL Network senior national columnist. And we thank Judy Batista for joining us here on the show today. When we come back on the program, we'll switch gears. We'll talk a little baseball with Yankees broadcaster Emmanuel Berbari. We'll talk about what the Yankees have done. We'll sneak in some Met questions with him as well. We also have our other elements of the show, the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day, Coach's Collectibles item of the week, and all the other Michigas that we like to do here on the show. That is all coming up when we come back right after this. Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention Sports Bash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage.
In 1982, the Marty Lyons Foundation began with a single heartfelt mission: to bring moments of joy and hope to critically ill children by granting wishes that make their dreams come true. Since that day, we have touched the lives of over 8,600 families, raising over $44 million to grant wishes that offer a beacon of light in their darkest times. These precious wishes cost an average of $7,100 each. And your support is crucial to our mission. Every donation, big or small, makes a difference. And with 84 cents of every dollar going directly to supporting our families, you can rest assured your support truly changes lives. The Marty Lyons Foundation operates 11 chapters in 14 states now, working tirelessly to reach as many children as we can. This dedication goes hand in hand with our commitment to transparency and accountability, earning us top ratings on Charity Navigator, Great Nonprofits, and Candid, which underscores our dedication to those we serve. The Marty Lyons Foundation grants wishes to children ages 3 to 17. And what really makes this foundation so special is our willingness to grant not only a first wish, but also consider a second wish to a child who continues to battle a life-threatening illness. We stand by these children, offering them hope and strength through the power of dreams, giving our children the courage to wish for more.
What's your purpose in life? Is your purpose in life to live in the big house and drive the nice car? No. Your purpose in this life is to make it a little bit better for those that follow and realize that we live for today to see a better tomorrow.
Visit MartyLyonsFoundation.org to learn more and get involved.
High fly ball, right center field. Taylor back, turning, looking, see ya! Off the back wall of the bullpen. A 12-game hitting streak from Bellinger. A 2-2 game in the Bronx.
Welcome back to Sports Bash. I'm Peter Schwartz. You just heard and saw Michael Kay call a Cody Bellinger home run on Yes Network. And, of course, the big news for the Yankees yesterday, the re-signing of Cody Bellinger to a 5-year deal, bringing him back after he had a terrific 2025 season. And on the line with us on Zoom to talk about Bellinger, other things Yankees, and maybe we'll sneak in a couple of Met questions to him as well, because the Mets have been busy beavers over the last few days. We welcome in my good friend and Yankee broadcaster, Emmanuel Berbari. Emmanuel, it's Peter. How are you, sir?
Peter, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Belated Happy New Year. I know we haven't spoken in a little bit. I'm not kind of not around WFAN as much as I used to be, but that's a story for another day. It's actually a story I've talked about ad nauseum. But in any event, welcome to the program. I think once the Mets brought Luis Robert Jr. in via trade the other night, I think it became a fait accompli that the Yankees were going to bring Bellinger back, and that was the news yesterday. What was your reaction to hearing the news that Cody Bellinger signed that 5-year deal with the Yankees?
It felt like a long time coming throughout the offseason, but nothing about this deal surprised any of us who knew the Yankees were comfortable going 5 years, and it was sort of that staring match that developed late in the process, but Cody Bellinger wanted to be here. The Yankees wanted him back, and these are the terms they were comfortable bringing him back on. Yeah, there was some minutia to be worked out, the opt-out clauses, the signing bonus, but Cody Bellinger is a perfect fit here. And I think the bigger question would have been if he didn't re-sign where the Yankees were going to go, as opposed to if he re-signed where they were going to go. This was the move that made the most sense all offseason. You want to call it running back. We'll see what they do over the next couple of weeks, but they had to put this in place.
So, there's been that term in the show, and I think the rock band Crowded House. So a crowded house for the Yankees in that outfield now, because obviously you've got Aaron Judge in right field, and Cody Bellinger is back, and Trent Grisham is back on that 1-year deal. But you also have this dynamic now in left field with Jason Dominguez there, and obviously Spencer Jones will push in spring training. So by bringing Bellinger back, it does create these questions as to how the Yankee outfield will eventually look in 2026. From your perspective, how do you see that working out?
That's why it was so important, Peter, for this domino to fall, because the Yankees wanted to figure out, okay, are Spencer Jones and Jason Dominguez competing for an everyday role? Are they both part of this organization? Or do we have some flexibility to maneuver and figure out who's a part of our long-term future? Who could maybe net us some help on this year's team? I think one of the two is pretty much guaranteed to be packaged in a trade at this point, because I look at it like Jason Dominguez has so much upside, which we've seen flashes of. Spencer Jones has similar upside in a different way. But Spencer Jones, if the Yankees are going to keep him, has to be an everyday player.
Right.
And if they keep him and he's not an everyday player, they're signaling to the rest of the league, hey, we don't believe in this guy's value as much as we once did. So you have to trade him if you don't believe in his value to be just that, a guy who's capable of playing every day, being a ceiling star at the major league level. So that leads me to one direction, and it's that Cody Bellinger, he'll play some left field. He can slide around the outfield. He'll play every single day. But one of these two guys, one of these two promising youngsters, and Dominguez or Jones, probably isn't a Yankee this year.
And I think, Emmanuel, that would be the case whether they brought Grisham back or not. I don't think Trent Grisham plays a role in that decision. I think the Yankees were going to go forward with one of the two. Do you buy the fact that the Grisham deal, I don't think, has an effect on this? I think the Yankees would look in that direction anyway, right?
I think they were. And when they offered that deal to Grisham, the qualifying offer, I think the Yankees were more than comfortable with Grisham taking it. A lot of the discussion and the framework around this was, the Yankees, they slipped up. And Grisham took the deal and they were blindsided for it. I don't buy that for a second, because you don't put the offer in his direction if you're not comfortable with him taking it.
Right.
And I think a lot of it centered around the Yankees' idea of continuity. I harken back to this entire Aaron Judge tenure with the Yankees. How many different teammates has he had at each position? There has not been a lot of stability here surrounding Aaron Judge. And you can talk about that as a good thing or a bad thing. The Yankees have been in the postseason essentially every year with Aaron Judge, but the Yankees would love to take a deep breath, allow some development, allow some continuity to form within this roster. So I think Grisham, they were happy to have him back. And now you run back Bellinger as well. Maybe you trade Jones and Dominguez as your fourth outfielder and can play on a semi-regular basis, a role he was comfortable in last year and was mentored by the likes of Trent Grisham. So the continuity is a big factor here.
Yankees broadcaster Emmanuel Berbari, my guest here on Sports Bash. Yankees bringing back Cody Bellinger, and now they look to the next fix on this team. And I would imagine, even though they did bring in Ryan Weathers, I would imagine when you're talking about trading Spencer Jones or Dominguez, and I think it'll be Jones that goes, but I would imagine that would be a package for another pitcher, because you've got Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon and Clark Schmidt all coming back from injury. You brought Ryan Weathers in. There's obviously some other components to that starting rotation, but I would think the Yankees are still in the market for another starting pitcher, right?
Yeah, I think all pitching options are on the table. Now, will it be a high-end pitcher? I wouldn't place my bets there. I think the Yankees are looking at it more, let's add some insurance to this starting rotation. You're starting the year with Garrett Cole still not fully healthy and back. Carlos Rodon missing at least the first month of the year. Those are guys you expect to be in a hypothetical playoff rotation down the road, but they won't start the year as part of your five-man staff. Clark Schmidt won't be back until August, best case scenario. So I look at the Yankees, it's an insurance play. Weathers was just that, with a lot of high upside, even given the injury pass. That's a guy who could slide into your rotation with elite stuff. Ryan Yarbrough, insurance, and also could be that long piece out of the bullpen. Any starting pitching ad, I think, would fit that mold. I'd be surprised if it's more than that mold. And with the bullpen, the Yankees are still looking to add an arm or two, because I think they're happy with the back end that they fortified at the deadline of last year with the Bednars and Duvals of the world. But I still think they believe they're a little thin and want to add a bullpen piece or two.
Let's switch over to the Mets for a second, because you do appear frequently on Baseball Night in New York on SNY, and obviously the Mets have been very, very busy over the last couple of days, bringing in Bo Bichette and, trading for Peralta and also the other night for Luis Robert Jr., which I think set the scene for the Yankees bringing back Bellinger. What are your thoughts on what the Mets have done in the last few days and the way that they've kind of gotten the fans back on their side after all the players that left?
They've effectively swung the pendulum on their offseason, because the feeling around the Mets could not have been worse with losing the core. And again, this was calculated. This was a calculated move by David Stearns. But from the outside looking in, if the team isn't going to look equal or better, the fan base cannot react to breaking up a long-standing core in a positive fashion. And it took a while for us to see the fruits of the Mets' plan. But now within just a few days span, I think you can make a confident argument the Mets are a better, more well-balanced roster than they were coming out of last year. That's not far-fetched to say because you look up and down the lineup, they can beat you in a lot of different ways with speed, with contact, with power. It's more balanced power than relying on one or two guys for those home runs, but I think you're going to get just as much, if not more, in the power department. The starting pitching has improved drastically with Peralta. The back end of the bullpen fortified with the Devin Williams and Luke Weavers of the world. So I think you can make the case the Mets are better. They're not done. I still think they need starting pitching. They need to deepen out that staff so they're not relying on, okay, does Manaea bounce back? Does Senga bounce back? Right now, they're still very reliant on that. But in a few-day span, they've completely swung the pendulum on the offseason.
No question. And I looked at the graphic on TV yesterday when they showed the Mets lineup as it's constituted now. And again, I'm on record saying I would have brought Pete Alonso back for a number of reasons. Number one, he's really, really good. Number two, he's a fan favorite. So I think that was the only slip-up I think that they really can be criticized on. But when you look at that Met lineup, top to bottom, you almost have to think to yourself, this lineup might be able to score more runs than last year's lineup, even though there's no Alonso in there. That I think it's a lengthier lineup that the Mets have right now on the table.
I think that's fair to say, Peter, and I think it's more dangerous. There are fewer spots where the opposing pitcher, I think about this a lot with postseason lineups. We saw it with the Yankees last year, and it ultimately hurt them. The bottom of the order wasn't really producing. You need the opposing pitcher to not have that opportunity to come up for breath. And the Mets all year last season, it was 6 through 9 in the lineup. You don't want to call them auto outs or major league players, but it was close to that. Mm-hmm. Now you look up and down the lineup, and there are professional at-bats at a bare minimum. I'm not sure if Marcus Semien is going to turn back the clock into a 200-hit guy, but if he comes even close, that's a professional at-bat at a minimum, bottom of your order, and gold glove caliber defense. I think the same thing about Bichette to a greater degree because he is still a 200-hit guy. Jorge Polanco, professional at-bat. Luis Robert has really high upside, but at a baseline, he's improving your defense out in center field in a big-time way. And that's not to mention the stars in Soto and Lindor. This is a much better lineup overall offense the Mets have.
Last thing, Emmanuel, and I appreciate the time. Look into your crystal ball. We still have some off-season left before the Yankees report to Tampa and the Mets report to Port St. Lucie. Give me number one on the Yankees wish list, number one on the Mets wish list, as we are just weeks out from spring training.
Number one on the Yankees wish list is add 2 competent to above average relief arms so they can extract more out of. You add 2 of those guys, you have a deeper bullpen. Yankees will be more than comfortable going into spring training with the starting pitching that they have. Could add a starter, but I think top of line right now, top of mind, add 2 guys they can work with in that bullpen behind the elite talent at the back end. Top of mind for the Mets, 1 more starter. Now, whether that's a lot of people speculate, could they go and spend on a Framber Valdez, or is it still through the trade market? Time will tell. David Stearns clearly showed us yesterday he's more inclined to go the trade route the rest of the way. But I think the Mets, if you add 1 more starter with the moves in the lineup, with the bullpen existing, maybe they add another reliever, but I still think it's a starting pitcher that puts the Mets from really good to possibly great and contending with the Dodgers.
Emmanuel, my friend, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show, and hope to see you soon. Thanks for coming on board, and get ready for the nice weather there in Tampa for spring training.
Absolutely. It'll be great to get out of this 15-degree weather in New York. So, yeah. Peter, I appreciate you having me.
Do you have the snow shovel ready for Sunday?
Oh, absolutely. It's been a snowy winter. This has been a snowy winter. We've had a few pop-ups throughout the course, so we're all geared up. Everything's on the front stoop right now.
Yeah. Emmanuel, thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Peter.
You got it. Emmanuel Barbari, Yankee broadcaster, and you can also catch him on SNY's Baseball Night in New York as we covered all the bases there, no pun intended, with the Yankees and the Mets. It is time for the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day. It's presented by the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Every customer is considered family at the Embassy Diner. Mention Sports Bash and get a free dessert with your meal. We do post a new question every Tuesday and Thursday on the Sports Bash Media X/Twitter page. And today the question is all about your New York Mets. Well, not my Mets, but Tony's Mets, my family's Mets. And if you're a Met fan, there you're a Mets. Met fans, are you happy with the recent moves in the last few days by the Amazons? And the 3 choices are yes, no, and we'll see. Tony, our resident Met fan. Yes, no, or we'll see?
Sad to see Pete lost, but yes, the answer is yes.
Yes, okay. And I actually voted, even though I'm not a Mets fan. I voted we'll see. And right now, last time I looked before the show started, the percentages were yes, 55%, no, 7%, and we'll see 38%. So interesting numbers there. It is now time for What's Hot at TicketBash.com. TicketBash.com is your home for NFL playoff tickets as well as Super Bowl packages. For a limited time, you can use the code HOLIDAY15 for 15% off your order. Get the best seats at the best prices with no service fees at TicketBash.com. On the sports calendar, the Nets are hosting the Celtics tonight. On Saturday afternoon, the Islanders host the Sabres as the Islanders are back from their road trip. And I was told yesterday that Saturday's game between the Islanders and the Sabres is a complete and total sellout. Nice. So it's either you watch it on TV or you get on the horn with TicketBash.com and you use that code HOLIDAY15 and you get yourself some tickets for that game on Saturday. But Saturday is a complete and total sellout. And as I've told you on the show many times, if you don't have a parking pass, take the train. It'll alleviate a lot of headaches. Upcoming shows and concerts. Shane Gillis is at the Garden tonight and tomorrow. Again, on Saturday, on January 24th. Rascal Flatts will be at UBS Arena on January 29th. The Harlem Globetrotters are at Barclays Center February 15th. And WWE Monday Night Raw returns to Madison Square Garden on March 30th. Coach's Collectibles item of the week, and we talked about this on Tuesday, this Chaz Palminteri signed photo, and we have the picture of him actually signing the photos, so we thank Dom for sending those photos along. Coach's Collectibles, your number one source for 100% authentic sports memorabilia and live public autograph events. Check them out online at www.coachescollectiblesny.com and use code SPORTSBASH for free shipping on all orders. Chaz Palminteri from the Bronx, isn't he from the Bronx?
I do believe that is correct.
So I would imagine he's a Yankee fan. Again, it's not 100% people that live in the Bronx are Yankee fans and vice versa, Queens or Met fans, but I do believe I've seen him at Yankee games before wearing the Yankee hat.
And the Bronx Tale, the movie.
The Bronx Tale,
that's autobiographical, and they talk about the Yankees throughout that movie.
Right.
So yes,
and I wouldn't, if you were not a Yankee fan, I wouldn't share that with him because he looks like he might want to cause some problems.
You don't want cement boots there, Peter.
No, absolutely not. Next week here on the show, looking forward to this on Tuesday, and I know Tony is as well. We're going to have on Zoom this Tuesday, January 27th, a good friend of Tony, and looking forward to having him on this show for the first time. David Clark, who is a Billy Joel tribute performer. He will team with Elton John tribute performer Bill Connors for the second annual Piano Men Yellow Brick Joel tribute concert Friday, January 30th at Westbury Music Fair. Tony, you saw that show last year, didn't you?
That is correct.
And tell everybody how great that show was. Tell me, because I'm going to be going to that show with my wife next week.
I am biased because David Clark is a close friend, but him and his band are fantastic. That was the first time I saw Bill Connors. I thought he looked and sounded just like Elton. I loved the show. Had a blast. Had a great time. Really looking forward to this one.
And we're fortunate. Well, not fortunate, but we had that snowstorm the last time that it was supposed to be a few weeks ago.
Right.
And they rescheduled it. So next Friday, hopefully whatever snow is coming this Sunday and Monday or whatever is all gone. So we can park in that Westbury Music Fair parking lot a lot easier. Because you got to go down that hill. And you don't want that ice on that hill. Drive down that hill.
Right.
But, that should be a great show. And next Thursday on the program, we don't have a guest yet, but I would imagine we'll start to preview the Super Bowl because we'll know who's playing in the Super Bowl after this Sunday. And there's a few other possibilities that we're talking to for next Thursday. So trust me, it'll be a great show next Thursday here on Sports Bash. And that will do it for this particular edition of Sports Bash presented by TicketBash.com and the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund. Thanks to my guests on the show, Judy Batista and Emmanuel Berbari. Thanks to our social media coordinator, Leanne Burgess. And, of course, thanks to my good friend Tony Walker and everyone here at Governor. Sports Bash sponsored by the Embassy Diner in Bethpage, by Coach's Collectibles, and by the Marty Lyons Foundation. For our entire crew, I'm Peter Schwartz. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you again on Tuesday, and stay safe in the snow.